Hey there, it's just Cap Entertainment. Today, I'm here to give you a rundown of the exciting adventure film from 2004 called National Treasure. So, if you haven't seen it yet, be aware that there might be some spoilers ahead. The story begins in a dimly lit attic in 1970, where a curious young boy named Ben discovers a book. He is caught by his grandpa, who proceeds to tell him a fascinating tale. In 1832, a man entrusted a secret about a treasure to Ben's ancestor, Thomas Gates, when he couldn't meet the president. The treasure had been lost for centuries but was believed to have been found by the Knights Templar, who later became the Freemasons. However, by the time of the Civil War, the treasure had been hidden away, with only a few clues left to its whereabouts. One of the clues that Thomas Gates was given read, "The secret lies with Charlotte." Unfortunately, their conversation is interrupted by Ben's father, Patrick, who dismisses the story as a myth. Years later, Ben, along with two of his colleagues, Ian and Riley, set out on an expedition to the Arctic in search of a buried ship. With a little bit of digging, they managed to uncover a piece of the ship's hull, which bears the name Charlotte. Ben opened a barrel and found a casket containing an ornate pipe with a hidden riddle. After solving the puzzle, he discovered that an invisible map had been drawn on the back of the Declaration of Independence. Ian believed he could borrow the document, but Ben refused, causing most of the men to turn against him. In a bid to extract information, they threatened to harm Riley. Ben started a fire, but Ian locked them in. The group managed to escape through a smuggler's hole just as the ship exploded. Later on, Ben and Riley tried to inform the FBI about Ian's intentions, but the authorities did not believe them. The two men then went to the National Archives to visit Dr. Abigail Chase. While exploring her collections, Ben noticed that one of her buttons was missing. He asked for permission to examine the declaration to check if there was an invisible encryption on the back. However, Dr. Chase refused his request. Ben and Riley left but decided to return and steal the document, and they realized that the only way to protect the map was to keep it away from Ian's reach. Riley tries to explain to Ben that stealing the Declaration of Independence is impossible due to the tight security measures in place. However, Ben tells him about the upcoming gala, during which the document will be moved to the preservation room, making it more vulnerable. They start planning for the heist. Ben sends Abigail the missing button from her collection, which he has coated with invisible ink. Meanwhile, Riley goes to the archives and installs a heat sensor. Abigail receives a call and heads to the preservation room to check, entering a password on the keyboard that unknowingly leaves a coating of invisible ink. Riley watches the cameras and sees the document being removed for inspection. In another location, Ian is preparing explosives with a man named Shaw. Ben arrives at the gala and his preparations allow him to gain instant access. At the party, Ben meets Abigail, who thanks him for his gift. He switches champagne glasses with her to obtain her fingerprints. As Ian and his crew arrive for the heist, Ben and his team also head to the preservation room. With Riley disabling the security camera and Ben deciphering the access code, the stage is set for an intense showdown. Ben successfully removes the document from the preservation room and decides to take it in its case. However, Ian's crew takes over Riley's camera feed and they shoot at Ben as he gets into the elevator. He manages to remove the document from its case, but a security guard raises the alarm. As Ben tries to leave, Abigail follows him and asks what's going on. Suddenly, the alarm sounds, and Abigail takes the Declaration of Independence from him. Ben and Riley escape in a van, but Ian's crew abducts Abigail. Ben and Riley give chase and are able to rescue her, but Ian has already taken the document. Later, Ian realizes that it was a replica that Ben had taken from the gift shop. Ben reveals that he still has the original document and will run tests on it later. He is aware that the FBI will soon discover his identity and he needs the Silence Do Good letters. In order to locate the Silence Do Good letters, Ben must retrieve the original copies from his father's house, which were seen during the gala. Detective Sadusky takes the lead on the investigation and finds copies of the letters at Ben's apartment. Meanwhile, Ian also manages to decipher the code. Ben visits his father and asks for the letters, but his father, Patrick, refuses and insists that the treasure is a myth. They examine the Declaration of Independence and discover hidden numbers related to the Silence Do Good letters. However, Patrick reveals that he donated the letters to the Franklin Institute in Philadelphia. Later, the FBI finds Patrick tied up at his house, but he remains uncooperative. Ben travels to Philadelphia, and Riley enlists a kid to decipher the code for them. Ian notices the kid and follows him, but Riley has already left. Riley meets Ben and Abigail with the deciphered code. They check the time on the clock shown on the back of a $100 bill, which reads 2:22. Ian bribes the child to obtain the information that Riley had deciphered, and they all head to see the Liberty Bell. Meanwhile, Ben, Abigail, and Riley are in the clock tower, waiting for the shadow of the tower to fall at precisely 2:22. They follow the shadow to a spot where Ben discovers a symbol carved into a brick. After cutting out the brick, he finds some sort of ocular device. Despite Ian following closely behind, Ben remains one step ahead of him. Using the ocular device, they examine the Declaration of Independence and find a new clue. But when Ian and his crew arrive, Ben and his team split up with the various clues. During the pursuit, Abigail drops the Declaration of Independence, which Ian quickly retrieves. While Ben is arrested by the FBI, Abigail and Riley manage to escape. Abigail asks Riley if he knows how to contact Ian. Meanwhile, Ben is interrogated and given two options: either go to prison or help the FBI retrieve the Declaration of Independence and face a long prison sentence but feel better about himself. While sitting and pondering, Ben suddenly receives a call from Ian, but the FBI is listening in. Ian requests a meeting on the flight deck of a USS Intrepid in New York and instructs Ben to bring the glasses. He warns the FBI to let Ben come alone or he will destroy the Declaration. The next day, Ben arrives on the USS Intrepid and a device interferes with his communicator as a helicopter flies in. During the disruption, Ben gives instructions that the FBI cannot hear. He heads towards the observation deck at the stern of the ship and assures Sadusky that he is not working against him. Ben jumps overboard as Sadusky orders divers to pursue him. Underwater, Ian's crew rescues Ben and informs him that Abigail is now in charge and has made a deal with Ian. They are near the location that they believe the previous clue indicated and are bringing Ben there. After receiving various clue objects from Ian, Ben tries to leave, but Ian suspects he knows more about the treasure's location than he's letting on. Ian reveals that he has Ben's father, Riley, and Abigail as prisoners. Ben suggests they go to Trinity Church and begs Ian to release his father. However, Ian refuses unless Ben tells him everything he knows. Upon further inspection of the map, Ben realizes the clue leads to a location beneath Parkington Lane. They head to the crypt beneath Trinity Church where Riley discovers a stone with the same name. Breaking through the stone, they enter a tunnel system. As they climb through the tunnels, one of Ian's crew falls through the decayed floorboards and dies, setting off a destructive chain reaction. Abigail and Ben manage to save the Declaration of Independence and themselves as they fall down an ancient elevator system. Upon regrouping, they use the elevator to reach the bottom and continue through more tunnels. After reaching what seemed to be a dead end in the final chamber, Ben expresses his frustration that the treasure must have been moved and there are no more clues. Ian, however, refuses to believe him and threatens to leave them all trapped down there unless Ben reveals the next clue. Patrick comes to the rescue and claims to know the next step, but it turns out to be a fake clue. As they return to the chamber, they find a pictograph of an eye, and Ben discovers a button that opens the entrance to the treasure room. But to his disappointment, the room is empty. However, Patrick reassures Ben that if the treasure room exists, then the treasure must have existed as well. Ben is relieved to have been proven wrong and they all decide to continue searching for the treasure. Ben believes that there must be another way out, and they find one through a keystone operated by a pipe that leads them to another chamber where they finally discover the treasure. Ben returns the Declaration to Sadusky and requests that his team and family be given credit for discovering the treasure, and that it be shared among museums in Boston. Ian and his gang are apprehended by the FBI, and with the reward money, Ben purchases a large estate while Riley buys a sports car. The movie ends with Abigail presenting Ben with another treasure map.